Hello, YouTubes.
All right, guys. This is the box I received when I ordered the Happy Buy 8 kilowatt diesel air heater off of Amazon, and there's a link below if you want to see it. I'm going to go through the box and show you all the pieces that are inside of it. I'm going to show you how I chose to install it. I couldn't really find enough information to make me want to buy one of these, but I'm going to try to make a pretty short and concise video for you guys to see what it looks like, and I'm going to show you how I chose to install it and give you any suggestions I might have. So here's the first thing I got to when I opened this box. This is the fuel tank, the 10-liter fuel tank. Comes with some pipe clamps, and this is, I guess, the fuel. This is what the fuel line is going to clip to. So there's no pre-drilled hole in this, but there's a few spots that kind of look like they might be made to drill through. But
You're doing great, bud.
all right, and here we got a bunch of parts. All right, this is the plate that you mount to the floor, that the exhaust and the intake and the fuel supply are able to stick through the floor or the wall. Got an exhaust pipe. I got an air filter. I got miscellaneous ducting. I got a really small muffler.
Tiny muffler.
This is the fuel line it came with. From
Fuel line?
the few things I read, this is really crappy fuel line. So I actually went to Home Depot and bought some micro fuel line that looked nicer. I bought myself 4 extra pipe clamps for the way that I'm going to duct this system. So, and then this right here is the fuel pump, little bitty guy.
Oh, that's cute.
And then here is the wiring harness. So I guess that's what it takes to put this thing in. On this side, this is the control module right here. I actually went ahead and upgraded, and I bought this one,
Bougie.
also from Amazon, that has this key fob. And here is the diesel heater. It's very Chinese. There's actually someone marked it in blue ink pen. So this was handled by someone. Here's the intake. Here's the output. I bought this one specifically because it has 4 outputs. And that's how I wanted to duct it. You can already see in there. You can see the vents. Not the vents, the fins on this little engine. So if you unscrew this, this whole top just pops right off. And here you go. Crazy amount of fins to draw heat off of. So you got a little impeller right here. There's an electric motor hooked to it. And it's gonna draw air through this intake, pull it over all these fins and force it out of these 4 holes. This is the glow plug, I believe. It's got a nice new looking little head gasket right there. Anyways, I don't really know how this is gonna, it doesn't have any oil, right? So I guess it lubricates itself with the diesel, similar to a 2-stroke, except diesel fuel is already much more oily than gasoline is, just by nature. So anyways, that's kind of what's in the box. Now I'm going to start figuring out how to install it, because this is my heat right now. I've had propane before too. So I'm just giving this one a try. Propane just condensates on the ceiling. I live in Tennessee. It's very humid. This is nice, but it takes a lot of maintenance. This diesel heater should really help us out. So I'm going to try to put it right back under there. Okay, so here's what came in that little bag of hardware in this area right here. Don't look at anything else. Got zip ties.
Don't look at my food.
Yeah, don't look at the food. You got 4 nuts that are gonna hold this to the floor. And then you got another nut for this bolt, which is gonna mount your fuel pump. Here's your little fuel filter. There's a bunch of self-tapping screws. You got a bunch of little clampies. And then you got 4 larger hose pipe clamps, and you got 2 smaller ones. And then not exactly sure what this one's for yet. Maybe the exhaust, running the exhaust pipe where you want to go. I'll let you know later. Comes with a little bit of this line as well. All right, I got my plate mounted. It came with self-tapping screws, so I just went with those. There's the rest of my wiring harness right there. Sorry, I'm wearing a headlamp. That's why it keeps looking like that. Here's my heater. I went ahead and ran the fuel pump line through here. I believe it's supposed to come right over there. You can tell my metal didn't cut all the way. I don't think it's a big deal. This thing sits right like that. And that's how it sits. Sorry, set my phone down for a second. It's gonna sit right there like that. My intake's back there. I may duct the intake eventually, but for now it's gonna come right out of that corner. And then my 4 outputs are right there. Here's what it looks like underneath the bus. It's come through right there. This line still moves fine, so I think that's gonna work out great. I'm gonna seal that up with something, probably some high heat gasket maker from a vehicle. I'm probably just gonna cake it on there, honestly. All right, I mounted the exhaust right here. Little muffler coming out from under my bus right here. I used my own hardware to mount this part because it came with a crappy bolt. I also use my own pipe clamps. The ones that come with are trash. All right, make sure to get pipe clamps. You're gonna need one right there. You're gonna need one right there. Zip screws to put the bracket. It came with this bracket to put it right here. And then I got a 1/4-inch bolt and drilled out the hole in this and the hole in this and made it work. Put a lock washer on there. I figured it's gonna be vibrating. Looks pretty firm. All right. How I can tell which one was the intake cylinder is right here. This one with the fuel intake. This is gonna be your intake port, all right? Okay, I've mounted my air intake right here. And I'm about to mount my fuel pump here in a second. All right, we got it all wired up. Super jank to the controller. It's grounded back there. We got our wiring harness hooked up. We got power. All right, we're gonna go hook the fuel up. All right, here's how I'm gonna test it. I got diesel. I got my fuel pump mounted right there. Oh yeah, plugged up, going right there to its respective port. Everything's hooked up. I'm gonna go in there and give it a try. All right, here we go. There's a controller. Plugged up. Well, that comes on, so that's good. All right, let's see if this thing blows up. All right, so when I first turned it on, I didn't really read any directions or anything, and that's not really the best idea. There's a few things I wish I would have known. So to start off, there is a way to turn the fuel pump on manually. So you're gonna want to prime your fuel line because I turned it on about 4 separate times waiting for it to come on, and finally it pumped enough fuel in there to actually start. But there's a way to prime the fuel line. And another major thing that I did not know is you do not want to unplug this thing from 12-volt power when you want it to turn off. If it cuts off and doesn't do its cool down cycle, it will overheat and melt the printed circuit board that's inside the plastic casing. It's pumping fuel up the line right now. It's getting there. It has not reached. That's where we're at. There's actually little puffs of air coming out of my exhaust right now. But it's on the way up. I'll let you know when it starts. All right, so it's blowing some air, and it's warm. Oh, ow! Crap, that's hot. Oh, it's freaking working. Wow. Hear the fuel pump clicking a lot faster. This thing's blowing some hot air out the exhaust. All right. So what I would suggest is to buy all new pipe clamps because they're all trash. They're no good. I had to use a bunch of 1/4-inch bolts and nuts as well. No lock washers came with it. I'm on a bus, so everything vibrates. So you definitely want some lock washers to put on everything you put a nut and bolt on. It's been working for a solid 20 minutes, 30 minutes, so. All right, a few things you guys might want to know. The entire install that I did in this video took me about 2.5 to 3 hours to do. I did not do the gas tank portion because I'm actually thinking about using a different fuel tank. I might pull one off an old car or something like that so that I don't have to fill it up as many times in the winter. As for the sump pump tube, that's about 1.5 inches in diameter that I chose to use for these 4 ports that my hot air is coming out of. I take that back. The sump pump hose is not a good idea. It actually got so hot that I pulled on it and it pulled apart. It didn't totally melt, but it basically failed when it got that hot. And also the ribs in it that give it, strength, they actually create a ridiculous noise. It's like a humming and droning high-pitched sound that it makes as the air is forced through the tubing. So that's my 2 cents there. And as for the fuel line I purchased from Home Depot is actually still a little bit too small. What I'm going to do is it came with a small piece of fuel line that's black. I'm going to guess it's about a 1/4 inch inner diameter. I'm going to take that to an auto parts store and match it up and buy me a good portion of that size fuel line so that it slips on there onto the little nipples better. And another thing that I wanted to bring up was the fuel filter I had came cracked, so it was sucking air into the system through the fuel filter, which was a little bit frustrating to find that problem out. Another thing to mention is I was concerned if the plastic body was going to get too hot or if it was going to melt. And actually, no, it did very well. The plastic body is cool to the touch, yet the air coming out of the ports is very, very warm, almost too hot to hold your hand over the ports. So I was very happy about that. So the controller, you're gonna have to be patient with it, all right? It's very slow to respond, and it's quite frustrating. So if you're looking at it right like this, the way that you're gonna turn the manual fuel pump on to pump fuel through your line before the motor actually tries to start, you're gonna wanna do that every time you unhook it from the diesel source. So how you do that is you're gonna press the down button, and while you're holding it, you're gonna press OK, and it's gonna bring up H, and it's gonna say OF, and you wanna turn it to HON. That's just on and off. And how you would do that when you get that screen is press the up button, and it'll turn it on. And just leave that screen on. And I walked outside and watched it pump the line full of diesel, and walked back inside and hit the down button to turn it off. So that's how you do that. The other thing that I wanted to figure out about this controller that I couldn't really find by reading the manual, I want to know why I couldn't set the thermostat, because I thought it had a thermostat. So I'd press the up and down keys, and it would change a level of hertz. And I was like, all right, well, I know hertz is cycles per second, but what am I even changing? I didn't really know, but then later to find out through some research, I figured out that that's actually the cycles that the fuel pump is doing. So you can make the fuel pump faster or slower, and that's really helpful in certain scenarios. But the first night I went to sleep, I just turned it on full blast, and I woke up sweating at 2 a.m. So the way you change that is you actually press the up arrow and the settings key at the same time. Now I had better luck pressing and holding the up key and then pressing the settings button, but either way, that is how you change it from inputting like your hertz or inputting a desired temperature. And your temperature will be in Celsius. There's no way I've found to change that yet. All right, as I said a minute ago, my sump pump hose idea did not work out all that well with the plastic and also with the ribs in it. So I actually am showing you right now a picture of the things I bought off Amazon and how I chose to duct my system. I used 2-inch flexible duct, and I used some 2-inch louvers that you can aim the heat with, and this seems to be my cheapest and best option. Alright guys, I've been using this heater for about 5 days in my bus now, and it works great. I wish I would have switched to this type of heat earlier on. It uses very little fuel. I believe it might even be cheaper than heating by propane. But either way, I'm really impressed with this little thing, and I really like it. Alright guys, if you're interested to see how the rest of this build plays out, or if you enjoyed seeing my bus and you want to see more of it, you can visit my Instagram account at International Bus Boys. Thank you very much for watching.